Pierre Teilhard de Chardin stands as one of the most fascinating and controversial figures of the 20th century. Born on May 1st, 1881, in Sarsnet, France, he would grow to become a paleontologist, philosopher, and Jesuit priest whose revolutionary ideas about evolution, consciousness, and spirituality would challenge both scientific and religious establishments. His unique synthesis of scientific knowledge and mystical insight created a worldview that continues to influence thinkers across disciplines today. Teilhard's life was marked by an extraordinary dual commitment to rigorous scientific investigation and deep spiritual contemplation. This combination would prove both his greatest strength and his greatest source of conflict with institutional authorities. His vision of an evolving universe moving toward greater complexity and consciousness would earn him admirers and critics in equal measure, while his attempts to reconcile evolutionary science with Christian theology would place him at the center of one of the most significant intellectual debates of his era. The formative years of Pierre Teilhard de Chardin were spent in the volcanic landscape of Auvergne, France, where his father, Emmanuel Teilhard de Chardin, worked as a naturalist and gentleman farmer. This environment fostered young Pierre's early fascination with the natural world, particularly with rocks, minerals, and fossils. His mother, Bernadette de Dampierre d'Ornoy, came from a deeply religious family, and it was through her influence that Pierre developed his profound spiritual sensibilities. From childhood, Teilhard displayed an unusual combination of scientific curiosity and mystical temperament. He would later describe how he experienced what he called the cosmic sense, even as a young boy, feeling a deep connection to the material world that went beyond mere scientific interest. This early synthesis of matter and spirit would become the foundation of his later philosophical system. In 1899, at the age of 18, Teilhard entered the Jesuit novitiate at Aix-en-Provence. The Jesuit order, known for its intellectual rigor and missionary zeal, provided the perfect environment for a young man with both scientific and spiritual aspirations. During his early years of religious formation, Teilhard continued his studies in philosophy and theology while maintaining his passion for natural science. The young Jesuit's intellectual development was profoundly influenced by his encounters with evolutionary theory. Unlike many of his religious contemporaries, who viewed Darwin's ideas as a threat to faith, Teilhard saw in evolution a magnificent revelation of God's creative process. He began to develop the conviction that evolution was not merely a biological phenomenon, but a cosmic principle that applied to all aspects of reality, including consciousness and spiritual development. Teilhard's scientific career began in earnest during his teaching years at the Jesuit College of the Holy Family in Cairo, Egypt, from 1905 to 1908. The rich geological and paleontological environment of North Africa provided him with abundant opportunities to pursue his research interests. He collected fossils, studied geological formations, and began to develop his expertise in paleontology. Returning to France for his theological studies, Teilhard continued his scientific work while preparing for ordination. He was ordained as a priest in 1911, but his scientific calling remained strong. After completing his theological formation, he pursued advanced studies in paleontology at the Museum of Natural History in Paris under the guidance of Marcelin Boule, one of the leading paleontologists of the time. World War I interrupted Teilhard's academic pursuits, but his service as a stretcher-bearer in the French army would prove formative in unexpected ways. The experience of war, with its mixture of horror and heroism, deepened his understanding of human nature and reinforced his conviction that humanity was evolving toward higher forms of consciousness and cooperation. Following the war, Teilhard returned to his scientific research with renewed vigor. He earned his doctorate in paleontology in 1922 with a dissertation on the mammals of the French Eocene period. His scientific reputation grew steadily as he published numerous papers on fossil discoveries and geological formations. The most famous chapter of Teilhard's scientific career began in 1923 when he was invited to join paleontological expeditions to China. For more than 20 years, he would work primarily in the Far East, participating in some of the most significant paleontological discoveries of the 20th century. His work in China included participation in the excavation of Peking Man, one of the most important early human fossil discoveries. During his time in China, Teilhard made significant contributions to our understanding of early human evolution and the geological history of Asia. He identified numerous fossil specimens, mapped geological formations, and helped establish the chronological framework for understanding human evolution in Asia. His scientific work earned him recognition from the international paleontological community and membership in prestigious scientific societies. While Teilhard's scientific work was gaining recognition, he was simultaneously developing a comprehensive philosophical and theological system that would become his most lasting contribution to human thought. His central insight was that evolution was not merely a biological process, but a cosmic principle that applied to all levels of reality, from the formation of atoms to the development of consciousness. In Teilhard's vision, the universe was engaged in a continuous process of complexification and consciousness raising. He saw evolution as moving through distinct phases, beginning with the formation of matter itself, proceeding through the development of life, and culminating in the emergence of thought and consciousness. Each stage represented a leap in complexity and organization, with new properties emerging that were not present in the previous stage. This evolutionary process, according to Teilhard, was not random or purposeless, but was directed toward what he called the omega point, a future state of maximum complexity and consciousness. This omega point represented the ultimate goal of evolution, a condition in which all matter and consciousness would be unified in a supreme synthesis. Central to Teilhard's system was his concept of the Noosphere, a term he coined to describe the sphere of human thought and consciousness that was emerging as the next stage of evolution. Just as the biosphere represented the realm of life on Earth, the Noosphere represented the realm of mind and consciousness. Teilhard believed that humanity was in the process of creating a collective consciousness that would eventually encompass all of human knowledge and experience. The theological implications of Teilhard's vision were profound and controversial. He saw Christ as the ultimate expression of the omega point, the divine consciousness toward which all evolution was tending. In his view, the incarnation was not simply a historical event, but a cosmic process by which the divine was becoming united with the material world through the evolutionary process. This Christocentric vision of evolution led Teilhard to develop what he called a mysticism of action, in which human participation in the evolutionary process became a form of worship and collaboration with the divine. Rather than seeing the material world as something to be transcended, Teilhard viewed it as the very medium through which spiritual evolution was taking place. Teilhard's most important philosophical and theological ideas were expressed in a series of works that were largely unpublished during his lifetime due to restrictions imposed by church authorities. His masterwork, The Phenomenon of Man, written in the 1930s and 1940s, presented his comprehensive vision of evolution and consciousness in a form accessible to both scientific and general audiences. The Phenomenon of Man traced the evolutionary development of the universe from the formation of matter through the emergence of life and consciousness to the anticipated future convergence at the omega point. The work attempted to provide a scientific foundation for his theological vision while maintaining that science and religion were complementary rather than contradictory approaches to understanding reality. Another significant work, The Divine Milieu, focused more explicitly on the spiritual implications of his evolutionary vision. In this work, Teilhard explored how ordinary human activities and experiences could be understood as participation in the divine evolutionary process. He argued that through conscious participation in evolution, humans could help bring about the transformation of the world. Teilhard's concept of hominization described the process by which evolution had produced beings capable of reflection and self-awareness. He saw this development as a crucial threshold in the evolutionary process, marking the transition from purely biological evolution to conscious evolution. Humans, in his view, had become partners with the divine in the continued development of the universe. The idea of planetization was another key concept in Teilhard's thought. He observed that human technology and communication were creating unprecedented levels of global interconnection and interdependence. This process, he believed, was leading toward the formation of a unified global consciousness that would represent the next stage of human evolution. Throughout his career, Teilhard faced significant opposition from conservative elements within the Catholic Church who viewed his evolutionary theology as dangerous to traditional doctrine. His attempts to reconcile evolutionary science with Christian faith were seen by many church authorities as compromising essential religious truths. The controversy began early in his career when he published essays that questioned traditional interpretations of original sin and the fall of man. Church authorities became increasingly concerned about his theological innovations, and in 1925, he was effectively exiled from France and prohibited from teaching or publishing on theological topics. Despite these restrictions, Teilhard continued to develop and share his ideas through private correspondence and unpublished manuscripts. His enforced silence on theological matters only increased interest in his work among intellectuals and scientists who were sympathetic to his vision of evolutionary spirituality. The scientific community was more receptive to Teilhard's ideas, though some scientists criticized his tendency to move beyond empirical observation into speculative philosophy. His concept of a noosphere and his predictions about the future of human consciousness were seen by some as going beyond what science could legitimately address. Modern critics have raised questions about some aspects of Teilhard's scientific work, particularly his involvement in the Piltdown Man controversy. While his exact role in this episode remains debated, it has led some to question his scientific integrity. However, most scholars agree that his broader scientific contributions were substantial and legitimate. Despite the controversies surrounding his work, Teilhard's influence on 20th century thought was profound and far-reaching. His vision of evolution as a cosmic process influenced numerous scientists, philosophers, and theologians who were seeking to understand the relationship between science and spirituality. In the field of paleontology, Teilhard's contributions to our understanding of early human evolution remain significant. His work in China helped establish the chronological framework for understanding human evolution in Asia, and his discoveries continue to inform current research in human origins. The concept of the Noosphere has had particular influence in fields related to information technology and global communication. Theorists interested in the implications of the internet and digital communication have drawn on Teilhard's vision of a global consciousness emerging through technological interconnection. Environmental scientists and ecologists have found inspiration in Teilhard's holistic vision of the relationship between humanity and the natural world. His emphasis on the interconnectedness of all life and the responsibility of humans to participate consciously in evolutionary processes has influenced environmental thinking and activism. In the 21st century, many of Teilhard's ideas seem remarkably prescient. His vision of global interconnection through technology has been largely realized through the internet and digital communication networks. The emergence of global consciousness that he predicted appears to be manifesting through social media, global environmental awareness, and international cooperation on scientific and humanitarian projects. The current environmental crisis has given new relevance to Teilhard's vision of human responsibility for the continued evolution of the planet. His emphasis on conscious participation in evolutionary processes speaks directly to contemporary concerns about climate change, biodiversity loss, and sustainable development. Advances in consciousness research and cognitive science have also brought new attention to Teilhard's ideas about the evolution of consciousness. His concept of complexification as a fundamental principle of evolution has found echoes in complexity theory and systems science. The ongoing dialogue between science and religion continues to draw on Teilhard's pioneering efforts to find common ground between these domains. His vision of evolution as a spiritual process offers a framework for understanding how scientific discoveries can deepen rather than diminish spiritual insight. Pierre Teilhard de Chardin died in New York City on April 10, 1955, Easter Sunday, a date that his admirers saw as symbolically appropriate for a man who had devoted his life to proclaiming the resurrection of matter through evolution. His death came just as his long-suppressed writings were beginning to be published, ensuring that his ideas would reach a much wider audience than they had during his lifetime. The publication of The Phenomenon of Man in 1959 introduced Teilhard's vision to a global audience hungry for a synthesis of scientific and spiritual understanding. The work became an international bestseller and established Teilhard as one of the most influential thinkers of the 20th century. Teilhard's legacy is complex and multifaceted. As a scientist, he made significant contributions to paleontology and our understanding of human evolution. As a philosopher, he developed a comprehensive vision of evolution and consciousness that continues to influence thinkers across disciplines. As a theologian, he pioneered efforts to reconcile evolutionary science with Christian faith, though his work remained controversial within institutional Christianity. Perhaps most importantly, Teilhard demonstrated that it was possible to be both a rigorous scientist and a deeply spiritual person. His life and work showed that science and religion need not be antagonistic, but could be complementary approaches to understanding the mystery of existence. Pierre Teilhard de Chardin remains one of the most fascinating and influential figures of the modern era. His unique synthesis of scientific knowledge and spiritual insight created a vision of reality that continues to inspire and challenge readers more than half a century after his death. His central insight that evolution is not merely a biological process, but a cosmic principle operating at all levels of reality has proved remarkably durable and influential. While some of his specific predictions and interpretations have been challenged by subsequent developments in science and theology, his broader vision of an evolving universe moving toward greater complexity and consciousness remains compelling. His emphasis on human responsibility for participating consciously in evolutionary processes speaks directly to contemporary concerns about environmental sustainability and global cooperation. Teilhard's greatest contribution may have been his demonstration that scientific and spiritual approaches to understanding reality can be complementary rather than contradictory. His life and work showed that rigorous scientific investigation and deep spiritual contemplation can enrich rather than diminish each other. In an age when science and religion are often portrayed as irreconcilable opponents, Teilhard's vision offers hope for a more integrated understanding of human existence and our place in the cosmos. The questions that Teilhard raised about the nature of consciousness, the direction of evolution, and the relationship between matter and spirit remain as relevant today as they were when he first posed them. His vision of humanity as partners with the divine in the continued evolution of the universe offers both a profound sense of purpose and a challenging sense of responsibility for the future of our planet and our species. As we face the challenges of the 21st century, from climate change to technological disruption to questions about artificial intelligence and human consciousness, Teilhard's insights into the nature of evolution and the emergence of the Noosphere may prove more relevant than ever. His vision of conscious evolution, guided by love and wisdom, offers a framework for understanding how we might navigate the complex challenges that lie ahead. Pierre Teilhard de Chardin was truly a visionary whose ideas transcended the boundaries of his time and continue to offer insight and inspiration for our understanding of the cosmic story of which we are all a part. His legacy reminds us that the universe is not a collection of separate objects, but a dynamic, evolving whole in which consciousness and matter, science and spirit, are united in an ongoing process of creative transformation.